everybody. Welcome to the Wizards of Amazon podcast, where we cover all things private label. My name is Carlos Alvarez, and I'm going to be your host for the show. Today, I have a friend, an amazing person who I've known now, I believe, like 2.5 years? 2.5 years now, something like that. Jamie Mardis, from the founder of Koffee Kult. Jamie, what's up?
Oh, not much. Thanks for having me, Carlos. I think it's been longer than 2.5 years.
Probably
3.5, 4, something. It seems like it's been forever. Things move so fast in e-commerce that yesterday it seems like a long time ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember, I think the first time we met was at a pub. I was hosting an Amazon seller meetup group. You came to a few, and you were obviously a very knowledgeable seller when it comes to Amazon. But the day that's most memorable for me is we were hosting an event I don't know if you remember, we were hosting an event at Macondo Coffee Roaster, and you had to go early. You had something to do, and we stepped outside to talk, and you literally showed me your brand, like what you sold, because I think you were offering me a bag or something. And I was blown away because I was and still am on Subscribe and Save, because it's the best coffee I've ever had, Koffee Kult. So I'm like, this is the man.
I remember that. I actually brought you coffee. I was like, oh, I have something for you outside. And you're like, oh, I love this coffee. I was like, no, come on. You're
no,
like,
really?
I really,
Yeah.
And that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. It was, I'll never forget that. In this podcast, me just having an unfair advantage and knowing how passionate you are about what you do, I wanted to share that and have the listeners be able to get to know you and how Koffee Kult came to be. I think it's an amazing story. Before we dive too deep into Koffee Kult and how you dominate on Amazon with this brand, can you tell the listeners a bit about yourself?
Sure. I'm a transplant. I've lived all over the United States. I've traveled lots of places in the world. My main core business used to be staging and production, mainly live events, concerts, things of that sort. And in that business, you either drink a lot of coffee or you do a lot of cocaine. So since I couldn't afford cocaine, then coffee was my only other choice.
Nice.
But I used to have my old staging production life was a lot of fun. And it still is. I still have a production company. And then I wound up in South Florida because the weather here is awesome, and cost of living used to be inexpensive. I don't know if that's the case anymore, but so I was in South Florida. And I was originally from Los Angeles, where I moved here from, and the coffee in Los Angeles was a lot better than it was here in South Florida. So I wanted better coffee. And that's really how Koffee Kult started, was my quest for better coffee. My wife and I, with crazy jobs, so I said when we retired that we would sell coffee or have a coffee shop or something as my 16-year-old would say, would be chill. Have a chill.
Something chill.
Something chill. But,
so your wife's a coffee drinker too?
Oh yeah, she's my number one addict.
All right.
Or she refers to me as her dealer.
Like the coffee dealer. I like it.
Yes, absolutely.
And so literally you just had a passion for coffee. You come to Miami, or you come to South Florida, and you don't like the quality of coffee that you're experiencing in South Florida. What were you drinking prior? Okay. That was a spur of the moment thing. I just wanted to ask.
No,
you don't have to answer.
Absolutely. So it's funny you ask. No one's ever asked me that before. What I drank before Koffee Kult, and I still drink all types of different coffees, people's coffees. I'm friends with lots of different coffee roasters. Coffee is one of those things that you can have a cup and then have another cup and another cup and try them all. And I like to enjoy all of the coffees, from the inexpensive to a couple $100 a pound coffee, just because they're all different. And there's in the coffee business, there's a coffee for everyone, which is really important. But I'm beating around the bush. So back in the day when I started Koffee Kult, I had a Jura espresso machine, which I still do. Jura espresso machines for your house. all my coffee snob friends are going to be like, oh, I can't believe you said that. But they are the best machines. I love them. There's a reason they cost $3,000, and they are. I love the Jura espresso machine. So, and in my Jura, the distributor distributes Illy as well. So I was drinking Illy coffee beans, which are not bad. They're very. It's a pretty decent coffee for a mass-produced coffee.
All right. So good. I asked a question that nobody else has asked before. That's pretty amazing. Prior to us officially meeting at that meetup group, I've done really well on Amazon in the coffee space with accessories and stuff like that. My only failed attempt at starting something on Amazon in the beginning actually was attempting beans for a very short-lived period of time. And I was just completely ignorant of the ways of Amazon and everything like that. So it never happened. But I considered myself extremely knowledgeable when it came to coffee, and being around you and actually being able to go to Koffee Kult and hearing you talk and you introducing me to cupping and stuff like that, I realized just how little I know about coffee coming around you. And I guess I had never been just exposed to the world of it. It's insane.
The coffee industry is awesome. I've met so many amazing people around the world from the coffee industry. I have learned great things. I've learned more about coffee than I ever thought was possible to know about coffee. And I consider myself not that knowledgeable compared to some of my friends. There's some people that also need to find more hobbies other than other than coffee. They know a little too much about coffee, I would say. But it gets down to the types of roots on the plants and what's sustainable for the farmer. The coffee industry goes that deep, which is really, really cool. And
okay, so
I'm a dork. I'm a dork.
You're a coffee dork.
Yeah.
So you come to South Florida. I think most people, I know myself, and I'm a little, when I sink my teeth into something, I run with it. But myself, I can imagine I don't like the type of coffee that's here. I may decide to, bite the bullet and get the best that I can find, or maybe I create this weird little blend just for myself. You went way beyond that. Walk me through that process. Why didn't you do any of those other two, I'm doing air quotes, normal things here, and instead create this empire? Like, what happened there?
I don't do anything normal. It's my family history. My father, when he's a ham radio guy, and he had half of his house was radios and amplifiers and looked like NASA outside his house.
Go big or go home.
Yeah, exactly. Go then. But so when I was researching coffee and I wanted to roast coffee, I read a lot. And this is back before you could go on YouTube and learn how to roast coffee. I actually had to search and beg people to sell me coffee, green coffee. It was amazing. And finding a coffee roaster was really difficult. So I read a lot of things that said you should buy a bigger machine than you need because you're going to outgrow it. And fortunately, I had the means to buy a bigger machine, but I bought a 12-kilo coffee roaster, and I probably really needed like a 1-kilo coffee roaster. But so I had this 12-kilo coffee roaster, and I wanted to roast 3 or 4 different types of coffee, and the minimum I could roast in that was 8 pounds. So I would have 16 to 32 pounds of coffee every week, and I can't consume that. So I just started giving it out to my friends and my customers for my staging production business. So it's something that people are like, oh, Sidram's here. The name of my other company is Sidram. So people say, oh, Sidram's here. They come to us and want to get coffee. So we're like, oh, here. So we're just giving out coffee just for fun. And it was pretty cool. It was a cool time.
Okay. So you have excess coffee. Basically you were forced in because of the size of the machine you got.
Correct. Yes.
And it forced you to create this extra stuff, would force you, instead of throwing stuff away, exposing it to people, and they obviously loved it.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good. And people were like, oh, can I have some more? And then my mother came to visit, and I was like, oh, you got to see my new coffee roasters. I'm super proud of it. Like, oh, this is great. You should sell coffee on Amazon. I'm like, Mom, I don't want to sell coffee. I'm not in the business of selling coffee. I don't want to sell coffee. I want to roast coffee. My stage business does really well. I'll go make a ton of money on a weekend and not work hard for a few weeks. I'm good with it. I don't want to go chase $4 a bag of coffee. Not what I want to do. So
now I've met your mom. I'm glad you brought it up. She's an amazing woman. She is driven, and since you brought it up, so your mom is the first person to bring up Amazon to you. Prior, I guess you were a shopper, but you did not sell anything on Amazon, correct?
That is correct. I wasn't even really a shopper on Amazon. I was like, Amazon, I don't care. It wasn't, that was back in 14. So it was before I ordered everything on Amazon, I guess.
Okay, so 2014. That's what I was going to ask. Like more or less, what date are we talking about? So, what was your briefly like? How did your mom get exposed to Amazon? Because normally, when people are talking about it, it's the younger generation that kind of hears about it and is telling the older generation. But in this case, your mom was doing it apparently, so much so that she wanted you to come along for the ride.
Yeah. So my mother actually was an original ASM, I think. I don't even know because I wasn't even around back then, but it was the first.
Right.
Some guys that do some classes, and it was how to sell books on Amazon. That's how far she goes back on the platform. And she actually quit her. She is a real estate appraiser, and she stopped appraising real estate and was selling on Amazon full time. She actually gave up a very lucrative company or position or job to sell on Amazon full time, and has ever since she left appraising real estate.
Okay.
She still does well.
Yeah, on Amazon.
On Amazon, that's all she does.
Okay, so you gave her a hard no. You weren't going to do coffee. What did she start getting some of your free coffee and selling it on the side? Like, how does it get to Amazon?
No, so she visited me again. She texts me, she leaves. She's like, you should sell on Amazon. You can make money. I'm like, I don't care about making money. I want to roast coffee. I enjoy the coffee. I don't want to stress out about coffee. The coffee is it's the coffee, and I like it, and I don't want it to be difficult. And she would not leave me alone. She's like, no, I did all the research on it, and this is what it is. And back in 2014, the space was a lot different. There wasn't as much competition, but I never really considered there to be competition on Amazon. Not because I'm arrogant, but just because I never really wanted to sell coffee. It wasn't my intention. So she's like, oh, she set me up. She's like, oh, I'll help you set up your account. I'm like, no. So she came back in like a month or so, and she would not leave me alone. I'm like, okay. So she helps me set up. I would go to Seller Central and we set up account. Okay, that's fine. Now I have a thing. I go to my office on a Monday, and I tell my assistant, I say, we got to ship some coffee to Amazon. So I'm going to roast some coffee. The old days was I would work production and then all day, and then at like 4:00 before I went home for the day, I'd roast a batch of coffee just so I would have some fresh coffee for the next day or for whatever I was doing, or take it to my friends. And so I come in, I'm like, I roast some coffee. I remember we used to ship 8 bags per box, and we send in, I think, 8 boxes of coffee, about 32 bags of coffee or something like that. It was gone in like 2 days.
Those first sales, though, did they happen organically once you got it up there? Were you mentioning it? Do you think your mom behind the scenes was saying, this is my son's coffee, get it, I want him hooked on Amazon? Like, how do you think those first sales happen?
Well, like the truth is that since as like buying a coffee roaster, I do everything like full blown. So I decided I was shipping coffee to Amazon. So that meant I was going to immerse myself in the Amazon world. Not because I wanted to make money, but I love to be the best, and I love to learn things. Most importantly, I love learning things. So I was like, okay. So my mom hooked me. This is back when review groups were still big, where they weren't against the rules,
right?
And coupons. So we went all for it.
Also, it was okay. That's cool. I see. I didn't even know that part in the beginning. Well, everybody was at that point. It was
normal.
Yeah, 100% off. It was a solid strategy.
Yeah, I think a lot of the rules that they have now are because of me. I don't know. Maybe not, but some of them definitely are because.
Okay, then the 32 bags they sell.
Yeah, they sold. They sold within.
You out of stock. You ran out of stock.
Yes, we ran out of stock.
You were using FBA.
Correct. And back in the day, we're in Florida. They used to make us ship all the way to California. It was costing us I remember it was $1.25 per unit shipping cost for us to get to California. We were shipping UPS ground, Amazon partner, and that's what it cost us. It was expensive.
Okay, I know. I California for each bag. Yeah, that's insane. So
yeah UPS too. It wasn't LTL. Now, it's
Hopefully you're getting
LTL and
hopefully you're
North
getting
Carolina.
Opalaka or something like that now.
No, now it's North Carolina, but it's a tractor trailer now. So
So you've progressed past 32 bags, to say the least.
yes. So
Okay.
and so in 2014 we did a lot of giveaways back then, and it was good. So and Amazon was growing a lot at that point as well, and I think it's still growing. I don't think it's growing as fast. It's definitely still growing, but so our growth, besides our giveaways and our marketing, that we basically grew with them.
Okay.
We're doing a lot with Amazon.
All right. So holding off on we're going to come back to this on your successes on Amazon. I feel like I'd be remiss if anyone has not seen the Koffee Kult brand. First of all, if you haven't seen it, you don't drink coffee, or you haven't drinking real coffee. If you haven't seen it, the branding, and you can tell the love and thought that went into the branding and the creation of it on the other side, is pretty amazing. So where did you get the name Koffee Kult? Coffee with a K, Cult with a K, the squirrel, everything. Like who created that? How did that come to life?
Well, Koffee Kult with the K comes from because the domain Koffee Kult with the C was taken, but which we now own, believe it or not, which is pretty cool. We now own that, but it was different. So a lot of our packaging, I personally designed our packaging, and it's designed in your face. This is what it is, not losing the message to the customer. So when we designed our first printed bags, I made the original design, and I took it to a packaging guy. I said, "Here, can you help me with this?" Because I didn't know about putting graphics on die lines and stuff like that. I knew how to roast coffee. I could build a geostage. I understand how to do some Photoshop or some Illustrator, but it's not my profession. So they said, "This packaging's horrible. You're never going to be successful with this." I said, "Why?" They said, "Because you got to put dark roast big and Koffee Kult little." And I was like, "No, that's not what I want to do. I want it to be Koffee Kult big, and then whatever's in the bags little." So, and it's black and white, kind of like how I am. You either love me or you hate me. I either like it or I don't like it. There's really not a lot of gray area with me. So that's where the brand came from in our package design.
And out the gate, though, those first 32 obviously were not as jazzed up as they are now. Because even I've seen some evolution in the branding and the bags and stuff like that since we met. So how much different was that packaging for your brand and what you represented from when you began to what it looks like now?
That packaging actually is a true Amazon story. Even though I manufacture our own product, that package was just a blank package and a printed label on top of it.
Wow.
On the front and the back with the requirements, with the little cut. When our original bag was a cut off top, where you had to cut the top off, and it had a 10 tie seal. Our packaging has evolved actually, and I've learned a lot, and as a company, we've learned a lot from Amazon and the Amazon customers, and learning to listen to an Amazon customers. And it's not always your competitors trying to bash you. It's just that's what customers are saying, and fixing problems and making a better product for the customer.
Absolutely. That's gospel right there. So, okay. So we got the branding. I want to go back to Amazon. So your mom was one of the first ASMers. You were in it when Amazon, when it was in its most explosive growth streak. You have an amazing product, and you're a sponge. I know it. You mentioned it. You're a sponge on absorbing things. You don't want to be second in anything. So you're really good at selling at this point. Why not use that knowledge that you have in launching and sourcing and all that there, and launch other types of products outside of coffee?
It was never about making money, and it's still, we still have to make money to have a successful company, but it's not about, for me, it's about manufacturing coffee. That's really all I wanted to do in the Amazon space. And I never really wanted to be there to begin with, other than someone was like, "Oh, you should do this. It's a good idea." I was like, "Okay, whatever. We'll do it, so you'll leave me alone." It's never been about expanding. It's about staying focused. So one thing that I do believe on, and is, if as a company, if we stay focused as a brand, then we will be successful. I see there's a couple different business models on Amazon. So the Koffee Kult business model is being Koffee Kult. That's what we are, and that's what we do. So we produce coffee products. We have other products. You go to our website, you can buy Koffee Kult mugs and all these things. But some things on Amazon drive me crazy. Like, we got a travel mug. It's made by Clean Canteen. There a bunch of coffee companies have. We got flagged for intellectual property rights.
Really?
When I buy it from them, and I called the manufacturer, and I was like, "Hey, what's up with this? Why are you guys reporting this to Amazon?" They're like, "We're not reporting it to Amazon." And it was like this big thing with Amazon. I'm like, it's not even worth for us to sell somebody else's product with our name on it on Amazon, because it just creates hassle. So I like to work on things that we can control.
Or stay in your zone of genius.
Stay in our zone, stay in our lane. And Jack of all trades is master of none.
Okay. So what would you say to somebody right now that wanted to get in, and they decided they had the same passion as you? They didn't use one of these tools to just say, oh, we think, even though they wouldn't show an opportunity, but they have this passion that you have about getting into coffee, and someone's telling them, you should really check out Amazon. You should sell on Amazon. You can do good on Amazon. Like, what advice, or what would you tell them right now?
Stick to just roasting coffee for yourself.
Stick to just roasting coffee for yourself.
Just roast coffee for yourself and your friends. That's what I would tell myself now. If I would stop. Don't do that. No, Amazon's a different place now than it was in 2014.
Absolutely.
And the coffee segment is very competitive, which I didn't know when I started, because I didn't care. I didn't do any research. I didn't know anything about Amazon. I was like, oh, okay, my mom says I should go sell coffee on Amazon, and I don't really want to, but she's bothering me about it. People seem to like my coffee, so okay. So
amazing.
So we did it. But the coffee segment, and I meet people in the supplements segment all the time. I'm like, how do you guys do it? I think that's competitive, but coffee's just as competitive as supplements.
Yeah.
The coffee segment's changed actually quite a bit on Amazon in the last couple of years, with some things that retail's doing. But for the most part, it's still competitive. But right now, if you don't have a brand, you have to sell a brand. So it doesn't really matter. And I think that's really what I would tell somebody. It doesn't matter if they're in the coffee segment or any other segment. I would tell them they absolutely have to have a brand. Don't try to sell one product. Try to sell your brand. And that's really what Koffee Kult's about. The brand is about awesome coffee. It's the best coffee. If you come to our building, the one thing I tell people, I hope they understand, is how much we love coffee and how dedicated to coffee that we are.
Absolutely.
And that's the important part. You got to have a brand, and you got to tell your story.
Absolutely. And touching on a little more of your actual location, you actually sponsor one of the South Florida FBA Amazon meetup groups, and open your doors to Koffee Kult, the actual location. And we've gone on tours there. You can see the love that's put in there. And it's definitely not a fly by night. The investment that it takes to do that is just amazing. And the group's extremely appreciative.
Oh, thank you. We love having the group. We love having the Amazon meetup there. That building we've paid for, and we basically own everything. I'm not saying this to brag. I'm saying this to encourage people, because that building and all that equipment is paid for from Amazon. Cash.
Right. What would you do differently, knowing what you know now, if you were to go back and start Koffee Kult, knowing what you know now?
I go and I look at this. Because we at Koffee Kult, we look every day. We look at where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. It's super important. All three of those things work together. So I look back and I say, sometimes I'm like, how do we get here? How do we have an awesome coffee facility like this? I really don't. Sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I don't know how we did. Because it's I don't know how. Sometimes we have two. Our coffee roasters are Loring coffee roasters. They're the best in the world. They do some awesome things. We log all of our batches. There's no CO2, no carbon monoxide out. We burn all the air out of our building, so we're environmentally friendly. So I don't know, and I don't know how we got here. Well, I know how we got here from a lot of hard work and me being broke most of the time, but
Great
uh,
coffee.
and making great coffee. But uh, it's real important that people look at where they want to go and to set goals. Goal setting is probably the most important thing we do on a daily basis. If it's how much coffee we're roasting that day, how much coffee we want to sell that day, uh, goal setting is super important.
As a brand, I want to touch on this, and this one just popped up right now in my head. But as a brand, what off Amazon things do you do as a brand to maybe gain awareness so people wind up shopping on Amazon, or social media sponsors? What if anything do you do with your brand off of Amazon?
I think off-brand marketing is just as important or more important than Amazon PPC. I think that so for us as a brand, we're the Florida Panthers sponsor. We're the Florida Panthers coffee. That took a long time to get. It's a real. The NHL is a real serious organization. We had to prove ourselves to them that we weren't just a small little company that we had to show that we could actually do what they needed us to do, which that is probably one of the best things that we do right now. We do a lot of festivals. We do a lot of giveaways. We go out to festivals and we'll have a booth and we'll give samples away for coffee. We do a lot of community development around us. There's a daycare down the street that is all Koffee Kult out, and it's in a lower economic class. And the kids at the daycare, their parents need to go to work, and they got to go here. So we've donated tents to them so they can be outside and not be in the sun because we're in Florida. We do a lot of non-Amazon things.
And you'd say that it's just as important or more than your Amazon, for purposes of sales on Amazon, eyeballs, organic rank, you'd say it's just as important or more than Amazon PPC on Amazon.
Correct. Branding. Because the idea is you want to create a brand that people know. So people don't get to, and we have a new Facebook, rep for advertising. We learned some things from them recently, and we're doing it outside of our online advertising of exposing people to our brand. People buy, people use or use a service or hire someone. First, they have to know you, and then they have to like you, and then they might buy your product. So those are the things that we want people to know who we are. We want people to know what we believe in: sustainable coffee farms, things like that. So then after they know that, they'll buy it. And you can't necessarily tell that story all the time on an Amazon PPC, a pay-per-click. So, or whatever, I call it PPC, but there's lots of different names and programs now. But you want to tell your branding story. And to get that across, you can't do that online all the time. You can do it with videos. Videos are very important, I think, on social, but getting out into the community is really important. It doesn't matter if you're coffee, or you sell toenail clippers, or you sell vitamins. I think it's really important that you get out in your community because you want people to know your brand.
Okay, that's extremely well said. So for the people that say, and I'm in agreement with you, but just so I can ask it, it seems like in the Amazon space right now, most people believe, you know what, I'm just going to file for a trademark and get a GS1. That means I have a brand.
That's not a brand. That's a paper brand. A brand is something people can get behind. It's something people will come back to, something people trust. That's a brand.
That's a quote right there. I'm getting a bumper sticker. That's right there. That's it. Jamie, is there anything else you'd like to add? How can people reach you and maybe ask about Amazon or coffee or Koffee Kult? What's the easiest way for someone to get your coffee?
Best way to get our coffee is go to Amazon, type in coffee in the keyword search, and buy coffee with a good, valid Amazon account. That's the best way to buy. You can buy it from our website, coffeekult.com. With K's, you can. We're on Amazon. We're in some retail stores. But you can find us on Facebook, Koffee Kult Coffee Roasters. You can find us on Twitter at Koffee Kult. You can find us on Instagram at Koffee Kult. You can find us on TikTok at Koffee Kult. You can find.
I'm dying to see the TikTok.
We have our social media staff now is awesome. So Sarah's there. Big shout out to Sarah. She does a great job. She handles customer service as well. But it's our brand is awesome, but our staff is just as awesome. And that's really probably the most important thing, is having great people behind you and having great resources. Because other than that, having a GS1 and a
trademark,
that doesn't mean anything. There's lots of GS1s and there are lots of trademarks.
Like a paper brand, a paper tiger, but a paper brand.
Paper brand, exactly.
That's amazing. I'm totally going to steal that term that I just got from you on that one. Jamie, you're amazing. You're a legend. I love what you do when it comes to branding. Branding and niching down really is going to be foundational for this podcast. And the first episode I had on it, like, you were not even a close second when it came to that. So I really appreciate your time. I want to wrap it up. I've already had you on here for a while. Thank you so much for jumping on the show. And anybody that's listening, go out there and buy Koffee Kult. You will not be disappointed. Koffee Kult with K's. Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks, Carlos.
Liked what you heard and want to stay connected? Join our Facebook group or find me anywhere on social media at Wizards of Amazon, or text the word Amazon to 69922.